Good morning and welcome to 2023. I am just as new here as you are. This is my first day in 2023. I know it's your first day here too, but we're in this together and I know God has great things in store for us. I was just realizing that I have not made a video all year this year. So I decided I should go ahead and get started on that. And so I want to share some encouragement from God's Word as we enter 2023. Many of us are very excited, happy to be turning another page, starting a brand new chapter in our lives. Some of us are a little apprehensive, maybe a little leery because of the last couple of years and things that have been going on and happening in our world and even in our communities. But I want to assure us, in Psalms 23:6, David says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Not just the good days, but all the days of my life. God's goodness and mercy are with us on the day we're born just as much as on the day we die. On the day we die, God's goodness and mercy is no less with us than it was on the day we were born. No matter what we're going through, goodness and mercy, God's goodness and mercy, follow us all the days of our life. And I want to assure you, friends, that that is going to be very true for you in 2023. Sometimes, though, when we're planning ahead or looking ahead to a new year or a new chapter in our life, we look back at mistakes that we've made in the past. And we think that those mistakes are going to prohibit God from accomplishing his plan and his purpose for us. Well, again, I want to share some good news with you. In Mark chapter 16, the women had gone to the tomb and found that Jesus had been resurrected. He wasn't there. And they say something very interesting. Now, keep in mind, of course, we all remember that Peter denied Jesus 3 times in one evening. So he didn't just blow it once. He blew it 3 times. And he didn't blow it 3 times in a lifetime. He blew it 3 times in one evening. Those are some pretty serious blunders. And of course, when Peter realized what he had done, he went out and he wept bitterly. But yet, in verse 7 of Mark 16, the angel says something very interesting. "But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him, as he said to you." So after Peter's 3 very serious mistakes, Jesus wasn't through with Peter. Jesus didn't kick Peter off the team because he made 1 mistake, 2 mistakes, 3 mistakes, or 70 times 7 mistakes. By the way, I find it interesting that Peter was asking Jesus if you should forgive up to 7 times in one lifetime. And Jesus says, "No, Peter, 70 times 7. And Peter might have thought, wow, that's too many times. Well, after Peter blew it 3 times in one evening, now I don't think Peter thinks 70 times 7 is too often to be forgiven or to forgive. So Jesus was not through with Peter. Now, I read later in verse 14 about the rest of them. Later, he appeared to the 11 as they sat at the table, and he rebuked their unbelief and hardness of heart because they did not believe those who had seen him after he had risen. So it's not just Peter here, the whole church, Christ's whole church of that day is being rebuked for serious things, hardness of heart. That's pretty serious. Unbelief, that's pretty serious. Jesus rebukes them, and I'm thinking, man, these are some serious flaws here. You got a whole group of people here that have hard hearts, can't believe. You're not going to be able to use them. You're going to have to get a whole new group now. Then I read verse 15, the very next verse. Right after he rebukes them for their hard hearts and unbelief, and those rebukes were warranted. They deserve those rebukes. And yes, God rebukes you and me too. And those rebukes are warranted. Yes, there are times we need to be rebuked for some pretty serious issues, just like his church is right here. But the very next thing he does, Jesus says to them in verse 15, and he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And I'm reading this and I'm like, what just happened here? Jesus rebukes his church for hard-heartedness, unbelief, and then turns right around and tells them, take this gospel into all the world to every creature. Jesus doesn't give up easy, does he? No, he does not. Jesus did not give up on his disciples, and we read in the book of Acts that they did go boldly and did amazing things. They weren't the group of people they were in that room when Jesus had to rebuke them, I'll tell you that. And yes, there are times we need some serious rebukes. But even after those serious rebukes, God still has an amazing plan for our lives. You've heard it said before, and so I'm just going to remind you that if you think that your foolish mistakes, your bad decisions have prohibited God from accomplishing his plan for your life, you, my friend, are not that powerful. Friends, we are not powerful enough to ruin everything. God's love, God's mercy that follows us all the days of our life is much more powerful than any mistake we've ever made. Now in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9, it says, it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things God has prepared for those who love him. And friends, as we go into 2023, I know that God has some amazing things prepared for us that we're not even aware of right now. And it says here in verse 10, but God has revealed them to us through his Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, yes, the deep things of God. So Paul here is saying that there are wonderful things that we cannot even imagine, but God is, a lot of times people use this verse to mean when we get to heaven, we're going to see things he's prepared for us that are totally amazing, which is true. But it's not just talking about heaven. It's talking about today. It's talking about 2023. That he has things prepared for us, wonderful things that we can't even imagine. And he won't just reveal them to us in heaven. It says his Spirit is revealing them to us now. Friends, let's accept the rebukes that we are given by God because we deserve them. They're warranted. They're necessary. Let's accept the rebukes that are given to us by God. And let's also accept his goodness and mercy, which follow us all the days of our life. Friends, God is going to use you in an amazing way in 2023. He has great plans for you. He knows your mistakes, Accept his rebukes. Don't just brush them aside or sweep them under the rug. Deal with those rebukes. Accept those rebukes. And then move forward with what God has called you to do. He has amazing things prepared for you this year. His goodness and mercy follow you all the days of your life. Be blessed. Take care.